this evening. And I think we have probably saved the very best to last, because we are going to hand the floor over to the little man with the big brain, Brighton's smallest and yet almost certainly cleverest member. It's Archis.
Supernovae. The world around you is made out of one, in fact, actually a lot, of the 92 naturally occurring elements on the periodic table. And the question is, how were those elements formed? What process happened to create the building blocks of life and the universe? Well, to answer that question, we have to travel back over 13.5 billion years ago to when the first stars were formed. Those stars were massive and their cores were millions and millions of degrees, which is very hot for an indoor oven. Because heat makes atoms in an object move, the atoms in the core of those stars are moving around very fast, that they smash into each other, creating helium and energy. And that is nuclear fusion. Eventually hydrogen will run out and the core of the star will be crushed further and made hotter, so the helium can fuse into carbon, and carbon into oxygen. When small stars like our sun make carbon, they begin to die. The core is crushed and the outer layers expand, and the yellow dwarf becomes a red giant, possibly even engulfing the Earth. The outer layers will float away, forming a planetary nebula and a white dwarf at the centre. Our solar system will orbit around the white dwarf, and eventually the white dwarf will cool into a black dwarf. But for binary systems, in which two stars orbit around each other, the outcome is extremely different. When one of the stars dies and becomes a white dwarf, it starts stealing material from the other star. As more gas builds up on the white dwarf star, it becomes less and less stable, to a point it can fuse carbon and oxygen into a new element, but one that's dangerous to stars, the element iron. Iron eats up all the energy from the star's nuclear fusion, and the white dwarf star explodes, sending iron across the universe. What about elements that are heavier than iron, like gold and silver? They too were created in supernovae, single stars. When a giant star creates oxygen, it doesn't stop. It fuses oxygen into heavier elements, like neon or calcium, forming a layer in the core. At the centre, iron is created, and the core runs out of energy because iron doesn't fuse in the star, and the core is crushed with a colossal force, rebounding a shockwave that hits the outer layers of the star, blowing them away and creating so much energy that iron can be fused into heavier elements, creating all the elements of the periodic table. These elements expand out in a supernova remnant. Pictured here is the Crab Nebula, a still expanding gas cloud where there was a supernova about 1,000 years ago. For a while, astronomers thought that when a supernova exploded, there wouldn't be anything left. But they were wrong. In fact, there is something left behind when a supernova explodes. When the core of the star is crushed, protons and electrons combine and form neutrons. So what you're left with is an extremely dense ball of neutrons called a neutron star. One of these neutron stars, called a pulsar, is at the centre of the Crab Nebula. and pulsars spin very fast and emit beams of radiation from its poles. The radiation is very dangerous and it can destroy the DNA of any person from 1 million kilometers away. But there are even more dangerous things stars leave behind. Another neutron star called a magnetar spins even faster than a pulsar and generates a powerful magnetic field which is strong enough to tear protons away from atoms. But other phenomenon, which has left behind even bigger stars, are lurking there in the universe. When stars more than 50 times the mass of the Sun die, their cores are crushed to a point, they form black holes, and the black hole begins to devour the dying star around it. But the black hole at the centre of a giant star is very small, only the size of Manhattan, and it's being fed at a mass rate of 100 million Earth masses a second. Imagine 100 million Earth masses being crammed into a tiny black hole which is the size of Manhattan, and the black hole spits out this material in 2 jets that escape from the star's weakest points, the north and the south pole, creating 2 beams called gamma ray bursts, which have a killing radius of 8,000 light years. The scary thing is, one could hit us right now as I'm speaking, even before the question time. I don't see what's funny. In fact, we're even in the firing point of one of these. Eta Carinae is a star that is about to go supernova, and it may even go gamma ray burst. WR204 is a binary system in which 2 stars are orbiting around each other, and one of them is about to go gamma ray burst, and it's pointed in our direction. Thanks to space missions, telescopes, and cutting-edge technology, not including scissors though, we have learned so much about these fascinating exploding stars. We learn more about these supernovas today than we did 20 years ago. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it.
How good was that? Seriously. Let's hear it. Archis, come. What a great talk. What a great evening. Is anyone's brain knackered yet? Oh. We've had some really good talks. We've had Pete Burr talking about the pie. Let's hear some Pete. Once again, Archis and Supernovae. And a round of applause for you lot for putting up with me. Bye. Right then, the only thing left to do